Great. Welcome everyone to another one of our heart-powered inspiring interviews. And as you know, every time I'm introducing you to a powerhouse entrepreneur and thought leader. And today we speak to a great friend of mine. Her name is Isabella Lenarduzzi. I met her when I was still living in Brussels, and we have been in touch since. And Isabella is really a powerhouse lady. She is the key opinion leader in gender equality, diversity, and inclusion. She has been a social entrepreneur for more than 35 years. And to be honest, she's really changed the status quo in a lot of ways in the corporate world. And she's internationally recognized as the founder of Jump. And I've been personally been, honored to speak at some of her Jump events in Brussels and Paris. And Jump is the leading social enterprise working with organizations and individuals to close the gap between women and men at work, to also achieve sustainable corporate performance and create a more equal society. Jump operates really all over Europe and is based in Brussels and Paris. And Isabella, it's amazing to have you today with us on this heart-powered inspiring interview. Welcome.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine, Monique. Really happy to be with you today.
Wonderful. And I know the last time we met, it was beginning of last year, 2020, just before Corona hit all of us, right? And
That's right.
So where we ran an amazing session together. And since then, a lot has changed, obviously, right? In the world, in business, in our lives. And why don't you just share with us, currently right now, what are your personal three best practices or initiatives that you take in your own business right now to bring everything to a different level, no matter what's happening around us?
Yes, so it's not an easy question. I think that the first point is hardworking. We need even more than ever to be really focused and in order to be successful in our initiative, in our actions, we need to study a lot, to read a lot, to take part to a lot of webinars, because we need really to perceive the change of the society in order to fully be able to respond to it by adapting the products or the services we are offering, and also by adapting our way of doing. Things are changing so fast and so profoundly. We have no choice. We need to adapt all the time. And so, unfortunately, this is really what makes the difference between an entrepreneur and an employee. When you're an employee, I see really the difference. You can, when your work is done, when it's the end of the day, you can go home or stay home with the remote working yet, and say, okay, fine. My working day is over. It's absolutely not the same as an entrepreneur, because you need always to be very attentive to what's going on in your social medias, in the newspapers, and so on and so on. So it's a never-ending job. So I think this is the first point. The second point is, of course, to digitalize everything you're doing, if it's possible, for sure. Not for every work environment it's feasible, but I remember that before the pandemic, I knew that I had to digitalize my content and my way of doing, and I always said, I don't have the time, I don't have the skills, I don't have the money to do that. And then came the pandemic and said, oh, I need to jump in, because otherwise I'm dead, because right. I've lost everything in a week's time. I've lost everything, because it was about event, it was about training, but in presence training. So I've lost everything. So I had to reinvent all the way of doing, and it was, I think, after all, seeing almost 2 years after, it was a real opportunity, because otherwise I wouldn't do that. But of course, I was in the good conditions, because I'm 57, so that means that I don't have a school age children, and I have a fully support husband. So I was in the right conditions in order to do that during the pandemic. Not all of us had the same conditions. And third, I would say your network. Network is so important. And especially within the pandemic period, we absolutely need to tie really a good relation with people, and it's even more difficult now that we have that lack of networking events. So we need to reinvent the way we are doing it. For example, just something that happened to me this week, early this month. I saw in my agenda, in my calendar, that it was the birthday of a journalist that already interviewed me twice in the most important financial newspaper. And really, I appreciate so much that woman. And so I've sent her a text saying happy birthday. And she was so amazed because she didn't put anywhere her birthday date. And so she said, oh, thank you so much. You're absolutely amazing. But I didn't do that in order to get something back. But she decided to interview me for the last day of the last newspaper of the year, you know. So 2 full pages, which is absolutely huge. And it's not something that I expected, because you always need to do things because you think there are the right things, not because you are expecting something in return. And then if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it's not a problem. So yes, network is so much important nowadays.
Yeah, I love it. And oh my God, you've given us so many golden nuggets already. I'd love to go into some of them in a little more detail, Isabella. So, like for example, you say that you knew finally now or never I need to go digital. So as you said, and I know your jump events were massively successful, and they attracted hundreds and hundreds of amazing thought leaders, right, and business leaders. You know, so how did you go forward? How did you now digitalize what you're doing? How did you go from live events and live trainings to go online?
I needed to change my economic model, because my economic model was mostly, not all of it, but mostly based on the seats that were the seats to attend my events that were bought by the companies for their employees. And if you organize the same kind of event but online, you absolutely you cannot sell the seats at the same price, because everything is digital. But it requests you accept the logistic cost of catering or you know, the scene and the lights and so on. But except that, it requests you exactly the same amount of work, because what requests so much, what is human capital intensive, is really the preparation, the concept, all the content, the program, the invitation of the right speakers, the preparation of the speakers, and then also the marketing of your event, the sales of your event. And this is voila. So it cannot be met with for example, one seat when it was a physical event costed more or less 500 euros, but you cannot sell a seat to an online event at 500 euros. So everything needed to be changed. And so I needed to adapt completely my economic model by doing many more audits of companies, more consultancy, more training, e-learning platforms also. So I had really to put my focus on other solutions than events.
Amazing. And I know, I mean, you are the queen in the field and known in the field of, you know, gender equality in businesses. I mean, I can imagine that, you know, with people working at home and, you know, really an entirely new way of working, that must have had an impact as well on gender equality in businesses, right? So what changes have you seen over the last 2 years? What impact did that have on businesses? And how are you supporting these companies, to address whatever changes need to be addressed now?
Yes, when we measure the impact of the pandemic on women at work versus men at work, we see really a difference, because women were still less visible than men in the companies. Remote working even decreased their visibility. This is something that we absolutely need to understand, because men are the norm in a company. And even if you're part of the executive committee, you're the only woman or among the two only women in the executive committee, which happens most of the time. The feedback that I receive is that the men tend to see each other in different moments than the working life, like playing tennis or playing golf together and so on. Women are not part of these insider groups, so they don't see these people outside of the office. Yeah. And that means that they are out of many of the decisions that are taken. And this is really very important to understand. You are not the norm, you're not an insider, you are an outsider. And all the outsiders, not only women, but all the outsiders did really suffer a lot from the pandemic. Also, another important thing is that women in remote working, that means working from home, is absolutely not a symmetric impact than men working from home. What we did observe is that women did tend to have not the right material, because all the devices and so on were giving to the husband or to the children that had to go to do the online school, and they were much more interrupted by the children than their partner. And also women tend to do many things in the same time. That you see the dishes that is not done yet. You say, okay, I will do that between the two meetings and so on. So it's very difficult, because you feel that mental load, and it's very much more complicated for women to be fully concentrated on your working task instead of your house chores and so on. So it's complicated.
Absolutely. And a lot of people in our network, in the HeartPowered business community, right? I mean, it's the same thing, right? It's the same even with entrepreneurs, right? It doesn't matter if you're a business leader working from home or if you're an entrepreneur working from home. It's the same situation, right?
Absolutely.
So what advice are you giving these women to shield their time, to become again visible, to become part of these inner circles, to be involved in these decisions? How are you supporting organizations, and what advice would you give these kind of women?
I would say that if it's very complicated for them, they need to leave their home in order to work. It might not be to go into their office, but they can maybe join some co-working space and so on. Because staying at home means that you need to negotiate with your children, you need to negotiate with your husband in order to have the full respect of your working time and of the concentration needed. And if that doesn't happen, leave. And what I say to the companies, I say, don't do these rules that are the same for everybody. There are people that really need to come back to work in order to do their work properly. And pay attention to your mental health. Pay attention to the multitasking. It's not good to do the multitasking, and it's not right that women have to multitask and men don't have to multitask. It's because this is damaging your mental health. Don't do that.
Yeah. And also, business can also, facilitate the connection, make sure that the women and men keep mingling, even though they're not on a golf course or somewhere else together, right? So really make sure that this kind of connection and a decision making is really involving everyone, right? I love that. So yeah, so Isabella, what do you talk about mental health, which is so important, especially in the current times, right? So many people right now seem to be quite stressed out. So, what is one habit that you have personally for yourself to stay the strong woman that you are?
It's a difficult question. I had to think about it, and it reminds me that it was 2 days ago. I had the opportunity of joining an event of female entrepreneurs, and you can't imagine how it filled me with energy. This is very important for me. It's to have that sense of sorority, of sisterhood. It's another way of saying it. You need to meet people, and you need to meet people and to have deep conversation with them. Deep conversation, but also there is a wonderful word that exists in Italian and in French. It is légèreté. It's really to laugh together, to dance together, if you can, to drink together, you can have, it's not because you have deep conversation with anyone that you cannot enjoy the moment and step up on the table and say, yeah, and and we need that more than ever. And it filled me with so much energy. Yes, if I have something to give to advice, is really to have these moments all together. You can have it with men too, but with men, it's another thing. It's another kind of energy. With women, you feel much more that you can let it go completely, you will not be judged on the same way, that you can be completely yourself. And it's really so important for us today to have these moments.
Love it. Great. So what would you recommend? And I love the energy that you bring here and you share, and I can tell and see how that is lifting you up, having these fun moments with other women is amazing, right? And I just had a beautiful evening yesterday as well with a great female friend.
Ah, voilà.
Okay, there you go. And it's so much fun, and all the walls down, and just being entirely vulnerable and naked and joyful with each other. So what would you recommend? Because we always love to inspire everyone that is watching our interviews, but we also love to give them a concrete invite and little challenge, something they can do right away to turn the inspiration from the interview into a concrete action. So they're shifting something for themselves in their business. What would be one action you would recommend?
So except from building these moments of connections, building these moments of sisterhood, drinking, dancing, and having this conversation with women, I think that one thing that is very important, especially for us women, but also for men, is really to know more about systemic inequalities in our society. So read a feminist book, because it's very important to understand that gender equality is fundamental to the maintaining of our democracy. It's one of the values that is pillar of our democracy. But unfortunately, even if we achieve the fact that for the first time in the history of humanity, and in our small part of the world, we have the same rights as men, but it's not sufficient. We are still not equal to men, and we need to understand this inequality in order for men to be part of the solution and not to be part of the problem, and for women to really free ourselves, because we need to understand that the choices that we make, not all of them are completely free, are completely how I would say depending on our personality. A lot of the choices that we make are still conditioned by being careful about how I will be seen, how I will be considered, and how you will be considered depends on your gender. And so this is, feminist books are there in order to free yourself.
So
it's not because we have the same rights.
Isabella, do you have a specific book that you would recommend for people to dive into to start with?
There are plenty of books that I would
what is one of your own favorite ones?
You know, in order to speak about women in the workplace, I would really advise you to read the book of Aviva Wittenberg-Cox. She's, I think, the Pope of gender equality in the workplace. Aviva Wittenberg-Cox is really, she has written a lot of books. The first one is Why Women Mean Business. The second one is How Women Mean Business. And then she has made other books. She has a newsletter. Register yourself to her newsletter. And also go on my website, because I have plenty of free resources, like, for example, a handbook on how to free your company from sexist behaviors, which is damaging so much women, and how to build an inclusive culture that is fine for everybody in your company. So voila, you have plenty of these kind of resources.
And I wanted to ask you anyhow, because a lot of people that really feel your energy and your passion and say, oh my God, I really want to connect with Isabella and know more about the amazing events of Jump, and then bring them into our organization or do an audit with you or something. What's the best way of them to connect with you?
It's really to connect with me on LinkedIn, on my email. Everything is available on the website. Do that, really do that, and we can have the conversation in order for me to understand what the situation is in your company, and then try to make it better.
Of course, perfect. I love it, and let's go for it. Okay, especially. And again, you know, gender equality is not a female topic. It is a, you know, a society topic. I think men and women both have the greatest benefit when we connect, when we really tap into each other's strength, right? And when we really drive things forward together. So again, it's not a female topic. I think we all, men and women, and especially as entrepreneurs, we all need to work on that, because again, I think, again, then we bring our whole society to a different level, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. Love it. Thank you, Isabella, for all your insights. And I'm so happy that finally you went digital. So now I'm sure, you know, Jump is ready to go far beyond Europe as well. And thank you so much for being on with us. Do you want to share some final inspirational thought with our audience to round off our precious time together?
Oh, be yourself. Be yourself. Don't doubt about yourself too much, because especially when for women, people tend to say that we are guilty of not being too much ambitious, of not dedicating too much attention to our job, of not networking too much. We are always guilty of everything. Don't listen to that. Follow your path, because this is the right path for you.
Right. Amazing. So just be yourself, right? Don't doubt yourself, go forward. And again, you know, just pick up the hints and tips from Isabella. And, you know, thank you for being on with us, Isabella. It's been amazing. And I think more than ever, your work is so important in businesses, you know, supporting, encouraging women and men to walk this path together and to build our future world of tomorrow together, right? So thank you for being on. Thank you all for being on, for being loyal with us on all our interviews. And I hope you picked up some golden nuggets. I definitely did. And we'll be back with another interview very soon. But for now, have an amazing time. And thanks again, Isabella, for being on with us, all of us.
Thank you so much, Monique. It's really great. You're doing so well. Thank you so much.
Great to have you. And as I always say at the end, you know, just speak up, scale up, impact the world in your own powerful way. Keep making your own magic, and we will all be in touch in the HeartPowered Global Nation and beyond. Okay. All of you have a great day. Cheers.